Hey, how's it going? Let me just remind myself what the title is. Oh yeah, okay. So my flight was canceled, which was half expected, I guess. So I signed up for reserve duty. Problem is everyone's trying to get into reserve duty now, so it'll take some time. But yeah, I wanted to share some stories. I think just to maybe restore some faith in humanity a little bit. Um, So I mean, I'm not defending terrorism at all, and but just not all are equal. So not all of them were killing babies and doing what the media likes to say that they were doing. A lot of them were, but yeah, there were a few that still horrible atrocities, still monstrous acts, but not as bad as the rest. So one of the stories, my daughter actually told me this one, and they told her that so there were two kids hiding in a room. Terrorists came in and murdered their parents, and they were under the blanket. And they came and they lifted up the blanket, and then they put the blanket back down, and they wrote on the wall, "Hamas does not kill children." You know that they do, um, but just a little bit of faith restoring. So still murdered the parents, but these two kids survived. Um, I heard three stories like this. Oh, there's another story where heard it from the survivors. They locked themselves in the bomb shelter, and the terrorists came. They heard the terrorists speaking in Arabic before they approached the house, and then when they got to the house, they had a script to say in Hebrew, saying, "We're one of yours. You can open the thing. You can open the bomb shelter." And the the lady inside said, "Oh, I heard you speaking Arabic. I know you're not Israeli." And so after a long back and forth, they finally said, "I'm a Muslim. On my honor, I promise I won't do anything to you when you open the door." And for some reason, she believed them, and they didn't. They didn't do anything to them. Um, but but they I don't know. They sat in their house with the kids, broke things, ate things. They weren't very polite or whatever. And they kept asking, where's your gun? Where's your, like, they kept really bothering her the whole time. And the one thing that caught me was they were getting upset. They're like, where is the army? Where is the army? And it's like, I guess this was the strategy, is to capture a family and wait for the army to show up and fight them. Um, so and the lady was like, I don't know. I also want to know, where's our army? Yeah, it took too long for them to get there, and they were just waiting forever. And then another story I heard of a a, a family of like 20 neighbors were all put in a place and kept alive, and they also waited for the army. And then a lot of them ended up dying because they were used as human shields. And um, yeah, the army ended up killing them because they were being used as human shields and things like that. But one lady survived and told about the story. So just to, like, I don't know, just not all not all villains are created equal. Not everyone is as psychopathic as the media would have you believe. Um, but uh, still not they're not still not saints. They're still not doing any good. um, yeah. How's everyone, by the way? I hope everyone's fine. Um, so one thing I wanted to talk about is also what's going to happen when the war is over. So obviously, what's going to happen soon is Israel is going to invade Gaza. There's going to be a lot of loss on both sides. Israel's probably, unless there's a lot of miracles, Israel's going to take a lot of heavy losses. Um, and then afterwards, there's a big question: what's going to happen? What's going to happen with Gaza, right? Um, so the people there are already a lot of loss of life already. It's adding to the hatred towards Israel. Hopefully, they're directing it in the right place, but I don't know. It's human nature just to blame whoever they want to blame. So, and also the schooling and the teaching. So they already have a lot of hate towards Israel. So whatever ends up staying is going to be a state of people who don't like Israel so much. Um, and I guess I don't know if Hamas will come back. They're going to kill all of the leaders of Hamas that are there, but then there's also the leaders outside of it. I don't know if there's going to be, if is Israel going to occupy and make sure that there's a proper government, because this is basically when occupation is used. It's once you conquer a country, you stay there and you occupy it to make sure they don't exact revenge on you, to make sure you set up a government. Um, so I don't know if there will be a military occupation or they will kick them all out of Gaza, but it seems like Biden and the world want a Gaza to go back to being a state for the Palestinians. Um, and the main problem with that I see is Iran has been giving money to Hamas, and there's nothing stopping Iran from setting up a new shadow government, calling it by a different name, and sending them money, and using that money and those resources for more rockets and more terror, right? So I think that's really the main issue there, is making sure that whoever's in charge has Palestinian future in their best interest. Hey, Annie. So yeah, so that's really going to be interesting to see what ends up happening. I know no one has the answers right now. No one knows what's going to happen. They're all really just focused on getting rid of Hamas. Um, so um, so yeah, it's going to be a really big question, something to pay attention to. Last time I was here, I was warning about the Friday attack. So clearly, the Hamas leader was very delusional. He threw out a very big party invitation, with a lot of death and murder. His party invitation, and he was hoping a lot of people would show up to his party. A few people did, but it wasn't the disaster that he was hoping for. And yeah, it just goes to show how delusional he was on what would carry out. I was thinking when I saw these atrocities that, okay, finally the world sees what Hamas is. No one's going to rally. No one's going to support this. And I'm still very shocked that so many people are still supporting Hamas publicly. Uh, it, but yeah, at least the people who, I think a lot of people woke up. So a lot of people woke up from this, but there's still the ones that are supporting Hamas. So yeah, I don't know if any of you have encountered that. But again, I wanted to throw a shout out to Ukraine, the Ukrainians, the prime minister of Ukraine. I think that's what he is. A president. He's the president. He came to visit Israel to show support, which, wow, he's in the middle of a horrible war and going out of his way to show support. That's yeah, it shows a lot of character. And yeah, just the war there is still going on. It's much worse than what's happening to Gaza right now. So still surprising that Gaza is taking away all that. Yeah, here we go. It's hard for most people to have any idea where reality ends and propaganda starts, I think. Yeah. The other thing is, like, a lot of people have beliefs that they want to believe. And you'll just do confirmation bias, grab onto whatever propaganda you can to support your beliefs and reject any contrary evidence and call that propaganda. But yeah, good point. Okay, so the one thing I was seeing in just to switch the topic, if you guys want to comment, I'll answer questions as well. So switch the topic about information. So the one thing that keeps coming back recurringly over and over again is how information is. So there's different levels of information in our mind. Yeah, of course, of course. So the different so there's like a conscious level of information and an I don't know, super conscious, unconscious, I don't know what you want to call it. But the way that we sort information, so it seems to be there's always a process, a 3-stage process in processing information, because essentially we are processing information all day, every day. And so if you look at the conscious side of it, information is about dividing information. So a huge part of it is dividing the information into two groups or more groups, but sorting and organizing that information into two. Now, that's not enough for computation, but that's like a prerequisite for computation. We have to sort that out and divide the information into two groups. And then once you have those two groups, you can start comparing those two groups, or comparing among one group, or comparing in the other group. And then, so the second stage is always the comparison between the two groups. And then the third is creating a structure between the two groups, creating links and finding the ways that these two opposite forms of information can coexist. So let's just give some examples. So I'm talking about in the conscious mind right now. So I don't know, let's say I was going to go good and evil, but that's also unconscious. Let's say, I don't know, what's a good example? I don't know. Yeah, war and peace. We'll stay with the theme. So war and peace, we can sort of say, okay, this is a war category, this is a peace category, and then we'll divide that information separately, and then find the comparisons between those. But then also, so that's on the conscious way we can see that. But then there's the unconscious separation. So these are the separation of information that we don't even have control over, that our minds are doing automatically. We're automatically dividing the information into two groups, and we're automatically unconsciously comparing them and unconsciously building a structure between the two groups of information. And this information is a lot more, the division is a lot more basic. It's a lot more fundamental of a division. So, and so I guess if we're looking at Jungian typology, for example, we go sensory and intuition. These are two groups of information that our mind is naturally splitting up and trying to resolve the difference. And really the prerequisite for computation is the splitting up part. And so why this was really important is because some people are splitting information unconsciously that others are not, and vice versa. And I was seeing this a lot between infodom and energy dom, for example, where the information so there's there's information that you can internalize, information that you're internalizing, trying to check if it's internally consistent. And then there's information that you're externalizing, information that you're trying to check to see if it works, if it's applicable, right? And these two informations are separate kinds of information. You can have an internalizing that's internally consistent and an externalizing that's applicably consistent. And then the beauty of those two is, okay, well, the internalized information, okay, all this stuff I've seen is true, all this stuff works. Where do they line up? Where is the difference? And then that's like the info dom side, and then the energy dom side. So the energy dom side isn't necessarily doing this division of this information, isn't splitting up the internalizing versus externalizing. They're not keeping them separate. They're keeping separate the subjective and objective modes of information. And then what you'll see is all of the conversations between energy doms, for example, is comparing subjective and objective perspectives, whereas the info doms, all of their conversations is comparing internalizing information and externalizing information, what works versus what's true. And you'll see that repeatedly in the conversations. Okay, so I got something, Sabrina. It's funny how you're so vocal about the Palestinian and Israel conflict now, but a year ago when the IDF was bombing Gazans during Ramadan, you didn't have an iota of sympathy. Okay. All right. I mean, maybe I didn't show sympathy, but I had sympathy. Sure. When questioned about the bomb hearings in your OP interviews a year ago, such hypocrisy. I don't know what you're talking about. Do you want to explain to me how I was being a hypocrite? I mean, right now I'm talking about it because I'm in the middle of it. All of the area around me, I could have been killed. They were targeting I live in this area. They were targeting the exact area that I live in. So mostly I was just saying that I'm okay. A lot of people worried about me and sending me messages. And, but yeah, I'd like to know what you're referring to. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm saying. So so about the joining the reserve duty. I mean, there's if I was in Iran and Hamas was killing and murdering the Persian people in the same way, I would, being in Iran, I would join the army in Iran to fight off Hamas. Right? It doesn't matter what country I'm in. If the citizens of that country are getting attacked and killed, and I was needed, like it was. This is a small country, so everyone's kind of needed to defend it, especially when more fronts are opening up now. So I would be doing that for any country, and even more so because this country is small, and this country is um, it's like it's my people, right? The people of the country are the same people that I. It's the same. I don't know, what do you call it? Same national identity. So like Iran. If I was living in Iran, I wouldn't have a national. I wouldn't feel like I was Persian, right? But because I'm living there, because I'm getting benefits from the government and the country and all that stuff, and if someone comes in to attack, like Israeli government is not perfect at all, right? By any means, um, and either is the Iranian government, right? But if the Persian people were getting killed and they needed to be defended, I would definitely step up and help them there. So, I mean, for me, it's a no brainer. Um, and yeah, I agree that what's happening in Gaza right now, um, it's tough, and it's going to be long. It's not going to end soon. It's gonna be long. It's going to get worse, and you know it sucks. Like, but this is reality. You got to accept it. You can't just. I don't know. This. You have to watch this play out now. Nothing much you can do. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Anyways, just wanted to say what's up to everybody, and yeah, thanks for all your concerns, and yeah, have a good one, guys. If there's no more questions or comments. All right, later.